in the middle of the table there.
Mm-hmm. It's powering up.
Oh, okay.
It says, please play. All right, we are now recording.
The monthly meeting of the Little Rock Housing Authority doing business as the Metropolitan Housing Alliance is now called to order. Director Benedicto, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Chairman Kenya Lowe,
Here.
Commissioner Lee Lindsay,
Here.
Commissioner Lewis Jackson,
Here.
Commissioner Lita Anthony,
Here.
Commissioner Brandy Peterson.
All right.
All right, you have a quorum.
You have before you the agenda. Any modifications?
Mr. Chairman, motion to approve the agenda for today's meeting.
It's been moved and probably second that we approve the agenda as is. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, none, but the chairman does reserve the right to move things around for expediency. You have before you the minutes. Any additions, subtractions, deletions?
This is the board meeting, November the 18th.
Yes, it is.
November
November?
2021.
Yeah, this is, well, actually, so these are 12 pages. That was a particularly long meeting, which, you know, the guests from the residents from Sunset came to speak, and we may want to be off on that date, but yeah, it's from November 2022, so it's 12 pages, and we are in arrears, but we're getting caught up. As you know, she is divided now.
Okay. So we don't have the minutes from the January meeting.
December and January.
Mm-hmm.
That's correct.
Okay.
Motion for the adoption of the November 18 minutes.
I move we accept the November 18th meeting as presented.
Second.
Been moved and probably second that we adopt the minutes from the November 18th meeting. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, none. I have no cards for public participation, so Director Benedicto.
Okay, so being no public participation, I will go to Director's Report, and I'll call Ms. Johnson up for the Housing Choice Voucher Report, Section 8.
Good morning, Board. How are you?
Good morning.
You have before you the monthly report for the Section 8 Department. And what I want to touch on today is our hot item, and that would be our emergency housing vouchers. Our agency was allocated 96 vouchers, and as of today, we have 69 vouchers that are actually issued. Well, let me go back. We initially issued all of our vouchers, but because some people failed to lease up, we had to rescind those vouchers. We had 33 individuals who actually leased a unit. We had 10 individuals who submitted their RTA, meaning they found a unit and they're just waiting on an approval or an inspection. We had 9 individuals who ported to another jurisdiction, and we have 17 individuals who actually have a voucher and their expiration date isn't up as of today. But they have not reached out to us, and they have not provided us with any information as to finding a unit or anything like that. And at this point, we would have to terminate their vouchers as well. So that's 17 vouchers that we may have to terminate by the end of the month.
Director Johnson, share the process with us, please. And I ask that, I know we've had the conversation before, but recently, we've had some personal experiences that was awful confusing, especially when we contact COC at the city level. So would you share with me what the process should look like and individuals that we should be being in touch with?
Okay. Any agency that is within the COC, and there are a number of agencies that falls up under the umbrella of the COC. Any of those agencies are eligible to submit a referral. Any of those agencies. Once we receive those referrals, And those referrals will actually already be deemed eligible, because that's the responsibility of the partners of the COC, is to determine whether those individuals are eligible under the EHV program. So once we get those applications or those referrals, then we start the process of approving them on our end, meaning we're doing a background check. And the major items that is mandated that we deny an individual is a lifetime sex offender and being convicted of manufacturing methamphetamine on federally housing projects. So short of that, we get them approved for the program. Once they are approved for the program, we will invite them to review our briefing, which they can do online. Once they review the briefing, then they are issued a voucher with the voucher packet with instructions and everything on it. They are issued a voucher packet, and they are given 120 days to look for a unit. Once they find a unit, the landlord will then fill out the information that they have, or the landlord packet, or what we call the RTA. And once the landlord fills out that packet, it's the tenant's responsibility to get that packet back to us. Once that packet gets back to us, it goes through our inspections department, and what they'll do in that department is determine whether that unit is rent reasonable and affordable for the tenant. If those two are correct, or yes, or approved, then we move on to schedule an inspection. When we contact the landlord, if the landlord indicates that the unit is ready for an inspection, it would be scheduled for an inspection, and then we'll go out and inspect the unit. If the unit passes an inspection, the tenant is free to move in that day. It usually takes up to 60 days to process a payment, but we do retro the payments to the date in which the property passed inspection, as long as the tenant moved in on that day. That's
I
it.
guess my question really goes back to access to the process period, just getting their foot in the door. Even we've gotten complaints, and again, coming from that part where Madison Heights gets a lot of those referrals because of the fact that they think we've got capacity, is that a lot of people are having an issue, and as always, people go to the city to ask for whatever they need, and it seems like they're hitting one barrier after another in just trying to access the process. So if it's not us, then it's somebody else. So that's my concern, is if it's a barrier that should be there, well, no barrier should be there, but if it's a barrier that we are aware of in the process, or if it's something happening at the city's level that needs to be addressed just from the outside.
Well, the question I'd like to put out there, who is the
Contact.
lead organization for continuous care? Who's the lead organization?
I want to say that is CATCH. I believe that's the organization.
And that stands for,
I'm sorry?
that stands
Oh,
for.
I apologize, I don't know.
It is part of the continuing, well,
It is, right, that's what I'm
it
saying.
basically addresses the homeless issue.
Correct.
And see, all those other umbrella organizations supposed to have, now correct me if I'm wrong, an MOU
To work.
with Catch.
Correct.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct.
So thereby, I know we've run into certain situations where the city claimed ignorance as far as those emergency vouchers was concerned. And I know that anybody walking in off the street and walking over there to Catch, the city's obligated to fill out that paperwork. And we've run into problems with the city not doing that.
Okay. So if someone walks off the street over at CATCH or one of those agencies, yes, if that particular department can assist that particular individual, absolutely, it's the responsibility of the COC to refer them out to one of their partners to assist them in filling out the application. Because based on HUD's regulations and the PIH notice, we can't do it.
Right.
Those have to be referrals, and they have to come in via referral.
Right.
So if they do go to CATCH, and the CATCH we do have an MOU together, MHA and the COC. to say that your partnering agency would be responsible for, X, Y, Z. So yes, if they go over there, it is Catch's responsibility or the COC's responsibility to refer them to one of their partners.
And I really think that Catch and COC, the COC are housed in the same
Same spot.
network.
Mhm.
And our problem with the process, based on what we're running into with everyday citizens, is a perception that one entity may be in charge and one entity may be targeting vouchers, which you and I both know is against HUD regulations.
Absolutely.
So that's our major concern, because whatever is going on in the process, we want to make sure that MHA has clean hands.
Absolutely.
Right.
So, we will, if it's not, if the breakdown is not here, and that's what we want to make sure, if the
Mhm.
breakdown is not here, then we know where to look next.
Right.
Because again, as ambassadors for this entity and having the responsibility of making sure that we're correct, I will ask the chairman to take the appropriate steps to find out where that breakdown is. We both experienced it firsthand. And for a citizen to call one number, get referred to another number, then we get to refer to another number, and everybody is blank on the whole issue, and you're calling the correct department, then all of a sudden, a voucher shows up. That ain't the way it goes.
How many,
Well, I
how
heard
many
you say
vouchers?
once, Commissioner Anthony, that you don't look good in an orange jumpsuit.
Not at all.
handcuffs. I don't either. So I make sure that I follow the procedures according to HUD's guidelines. And I also had, and it may be, and I'm just being optimistic here, it may be an issue of lack of communication somewhere. But I do know that at the onset of this program, I had a meeting with the COC and its members to explain everything that they needed to do, what the program was about, give me a contact person for your agency so this can be a smooth transition. Well, some agencies don't refer any applications to us. For whatever reason, I don't know. But there are other agencies who do, and we will assist those agencies. We don't put applications on hold because this agency failed to provide any applicant or any referral, yet this agency is just steady sending them to us. We still process them accordingly. So under no circumstances are we doing anything outside of what HUD regulation states we should be doing.
Well, there's a lot of misunderstanding going too, because I know that there've been several individuals who are not from Little Rock have been told, and they're homeless, that they don't qualify for an emergency voucher, which I know is not true.
Correct.
You can be from Alaska here in Little Rock and you still qualify for an emergency voucher. But my question is, how many are actually open that people can apply for right now?
Right now, we have 26 that are actually open.
Okay.
However, we do have referrals pending already.
Of course.
Okay, and so at the end of this month, in spades, they say 2 and a possible. We have a possible 17 by the end of this month. And so as those vouchers are becoming available, we're reaching out. And again, I had a conversation with some of the partners to say, hey, listen, we will have more vouchers available. But unfortunately, due to our technical difficulties here, it kind of placed us a little behind in issuing those vouchers out. But we are working to get those out, those vouchers on the street.
Now, I know that the public notice addressed this, but forgive me for being short of memory. There is a final report that has to be made. Who makes that final report?
When you say a final report,
Of the usage of the vouchers and the status of...
that is ongoing. There's a dashboard that can be accessed. It's public information. And so it gives a daily update on the process or the progress of the EHV vouchers in each housing authority. So that's made available on a daily basis. But nevertheless, HUD does have a department that reaches out if there are any issues or things like that. EHV research team, if there are any issues, they'll reach out to the housing authority to try to address those issues.
You have any questions, Brandon?
No, sir.
Anybody else?
Well, at our last meeting,
Mm-hmm.
we spent some time discussing, and that's why I wanted to see this in a minute, about purging the records and that sort of thing. So what, give us an update on that. And there was a big discussion about whether or not we could do that.
That we could do purging?
Yes, and
Okay,
the
no.
process that we were going to use to do it.
Okay,
So
so we did start the purge
How did we start?
process. We had approximately 4,000 letters that needed to be folded and stuff.
That's-
We got through
okay.
approximately 1,700 of those before we ran out of paper and envelopes. We have since received the paper and our envelopes, but unfortunately our systems went down. So we couldn't print or anything like that. So we are still in the process of purging the project-based voucher database. That's the database we're referring to. And the issue that we were discussing was whether we could close the waiting list. That was the issue that we were discussing. Commissioner Lowe provided some information
That-
on closing the waiting list, but we are within our legal rams to close. I'm not requesting it at this time simply because we have not resolved purging
that
that list.
issue of how we do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, to further clarify that, you can only close based upon unit size.
That's exactly what it
Say
said.
1 bedroom, 2 bedroom,
Let me-
3 bedroom.
so
You
can-
can't do a blanket close.
So,
Correct.
so my question, I guess, is that a viable process to do? One-
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
If we have
All
no
right, so we got
capacity,
some options rather than closing the whole, that we can do one bedroom.
if we have no
Okay.
capacity for 1 bedrooms, then we can close the 1
All right.
bedroom waiting list,
All right.
okay?
And what the
That's-
regulation states is that when you're looking to close a waiting list, you want to make sure you have an adequate amount on the waiting list. So you don't want
We know-
10,000 people on your waiting list.
Right.
That's just, not
That's
unheard of.
valuable.
It'll just take years for individuals to reach the top of the waiting list. So the regulation states, as long as you have enough applications on your waiting list for at least a year, you can close that particular bedroom size.
Okay, that's what I was trying to
Yes.
get. All right,
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah, it has to deal with a capacity problem, because
All
if you don't have no more, why keep taking
Right,
more?
right.
Applications, yeah.
So, yeah, right,
Yeah,
it
well, I
wasn't,
keep
it wasn't
thinking-
about a blanket closure, it was a per bedroom size closure.
All right,
So we're still having a negative impact on our ability to
To-
lease up the PVV vouchers until we get this purging done.
Well, we are still sending applications over. And we had a meeting yesterday with Gorman, I think
Yes.
it went really well.
Yeah.
We are still providing them with applications. But again, one of the issues is that the background checks or people not responding to or following up with proper documentation in order for us to close the case and approve the case.
Mhm.
So even though, to answer your question, even though we are purging, we're still sending applications, yes,
applications.
yes.
Well, I know that was a question and it was a concern of our partners. And I want to make sure that as being good partners, we're addressing those concerns as they come before the board.
Anything further? Thank you, Director Johnson. And
That was a lot.
Director Benedicto.
Yeah.
All right, moving along to finance, I'm gonna ask Finance Director Tamara Donnelly if she'll come forward.
I gotta take my mask off, y'all.
Stand back.
But good morning.
Good
I won't
morning.
take up much of y'all time
Oh,
because
always
it is
good.
the month of January, which means not a whole lot of activity going
It's the
on.
month of February, but, yeah, you got it. I got you,
Reporting
yeah, okay,
January.
okay.
So it's not much, like I said, going on, but I will give you this brief summary. I talked to Becca from BKD just to get an update on the audit. They're still waiting, pending on HUD's final review. So until then, it's kind of hard to really move forward with ongoing audits right now. So, and if you read, we did receive our response letter from the IRS regarding the 2018 1099s, and they did waive that $60,000. So we got all clear
That'll work.
with any penalties
That'll work.
thus far with the IRS.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So we were
That'll
so
work.
happy to hear that.
Yes.
Because I think it took us, 2 attempts. Remember, the first time, they didn't accept it.
Right.
So the second time, it was a success, so. And everyone, every department, every property ended January with a positive net income. So I'm sure later on it'll all kind of level out. Like I said, it just wasn't much activity in January. And last month, you guys asked for a summary and a history of all the bank accounts. And I did supply that. Now, 2 out of these bank accounts, you all did a resolution last week to close and transfer those funds. And so once I get the signed resolution, I will take those actions and get those funds moved. The other resolution today that you guys are going to vote on is what HUD needs from us for any funds associated with MHA to SAGE Housing Authority of the City of Little Rock. And the bank, Jada and I provided documentation that was needed. They were fine with that. So once you guys approve it, we're gonna get those changed. And that should make HUD happy.
Are we nearing the end of actually identifying and clearing up all those accounts?
Like I said, there was only 2. When you say clear up, what do you mean by clear up?
I think when we did the report back in May of last year, there were about 6 accounts that we looked at.
Yeah,
And we wanted to make sure that if it wasn't a valid account,
Go
that
ahead
we
and
got
close
them
it,
closed.
Yeah,
They
some of
weren't-
them has been
And it's only
inactive.
2.
And
It's
it was, out of
only
those,
2.
it was like 8 or 9.
Yeah.
Or something. It was
Yeah.
only 2 that
It's only
were-
2 that we're closing and transferring, 1 for Section 8 and 1 for CLC, which was the property in my mail.
Right.
But we're done with that, which is
Right.
about 30,
About
and I think
31,000.
Section 8 was about 50. But those other ones, we gotta keep those separated, we just,
Yeah, because that partnership had been completed. That project
Exactly.
had been done, so I don't know
Exactly.
why we were holding on
Why
to
was
it.
that? Okay.
Let me ask you a question. I know we applied for a waiver for the 2020 audit, but that waiver is about to expire come March 31st. Because of the Department of
Yep.
Enforcement
they're holding
Center's
everything up.
inquiry, are they gonna allow us enough ample time to do those 2 years of audits, 2020 and 2021?
I will tell you, I did another extension for 2021. I applied for another extension because until that audit is final,
Completed.
those equity balances won't transfer.
Correct.
So it's not, you can't even submit
Do
it.
anything.
Yeah, because the
Yeah.
books are not officially
You're gonna get
closed.
error
Closed, yeah.
messages.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
not officially closed.
So, I don't know if that's something we need to ask HUD, because I don't even, do you know where they
Ask HUD
are?
out through the Department of Enforcement Center, because they're the ones who's driving all this.
Yeah, I mean, we're about to be
And
2
since-
years behind.
Yeah, but- and they've been driving this since July of last year.
You got that right.
So,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, is there any contact that needs to be made from where you sit?
Well, yesterday I tried to call Michael Dickinson, never got left him 3 phone messages, never got an answer back. But that's what a bottleneck is.
Is that-
They're not saying anything, hadn't got any updates, hadn't got any statuses, so we're basically shooting in the dark. And they also subpoenaed BKD of their audit. They're waiting to hear for something back from HUD to close 2019. So we basically stuck in limbo.
Well, we've done it before. Do we need to write the secretary?
Sound like a plan to me.
You know,
That,
You don't mind?
Yeah, sound like a plan to
you
me.
know I don't.
even with the subsidy tool that, that we're about to, Erica's about to submit, some of those fields should have been pre-populated
Yeah.
from the FDS.
Yep.
But because
Yep.
they weren't, I had to go in and actually
Manually.
You do
manually.
what? Mhm.
Yeah, so.
Well, Mr.
Sound like a plan to me.
Motion,
Second.
okay.
Any questions, comments?
Wait, point of order, what are we motioning?
That we do, that we do inquire Secretary Fudge's office about
The status.
the status of the 28, July 20,
Inquiry.
and their inquiry.
It's been moved to
Since-
proper second that we correspond with the Secretary of HUD concerning the inquiry of the Department of Enforcement Center in the operation of MHA.
And that we emphasize its impact on our day-to-day operation.
Okay, that we emphasize the impact upon the day-to-day operation. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? None. So approved. But Tim, how is that gonna impact us? I know that certain accounts have to be brought forward in order to maintain certain balances. But I'm thinking, and I hope this won't affect none of the RAD deals that are on the table, as far as from an accounting standpoint.
I don't believe it will. I know there's resolutions approving the cap fund budgets. So we can be prepared to draw those funds down when it starts. But
Right.
I think if we can get everything kicked off this year, I don't think that should hold that up.
Okay.
Because I don't even know if they mentioned that.
It's just a
Even in
matter
their
of,
call.
I guess, procedurally, and putting things in order that one set of books needs to be closed before we move on to the next set.
And that may be a requirement.
Yeah, that's a gap, I guess a GASB, a gap, requirement. Because those, once you close these books over here, some of those balances have to be carried forward
That's right.
to the next year. And with we being stuck in 2019, that's 2 years worth of data,
Yeah.
that we gotta deal with, so. Hey, any more questions, any more inquiries?
No?
All right.
All right, man, we appreciate you.
All right.
All right. Chairman, if you're ready.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll move on to our legal report. Okay, and if you're flipping to your tab, you'll notice that there's a legal report, and not a whole lot has changed, but I will review as a reminder some of the legal issues. So the declaration of trust, the status is the same. Yeah. So
That's another one of those field office
Yeah,
things.
yeah. And again, needs to be addressed in the letter.
Thank you. Okay, so, yeah, no change there. Biddle versus MHA, so the last time we had movement there, Biddle actually asked for an extension that was granted, and MHA actually had no objections to her seeking extension. So, no change there. Nash versus MHA, the last time we met, we understood that he was seeking an additional $1 million for alleged harassment and $35,000 in attorney fees, though he's representing himself. MHA counsel states that the motion is procedurally improper, and they were moving forward with asking that it be dismissed, yes. And of course, the One Call Service Group, you may remember that this is the company that claims a breach of contract, but in fact, they had no contract with MHA. This was under ITEX. So no movement there. The last time we talked about this, our attorney Smith was going to make a motion to the judge that this be dismissed, and they should sue the proper enterprise. In terms of Jarman versus Little Rock Housing Authority, DBA MHA, have not gotten an update since the outreach that the attorney did, our attorney through the High Group, and just kind of waiting to hear back. There was some outreach to that legal counsel.
Director, I think at some point on all of these, we have to include in the legal report the position of the board and in our communications with the attorneys that no monetary settlement be considered, that we are requesting in every situation a court hearing. So that too needs to be a part of our legal report,
Okay,
that passed unanimously, and that we have contacted our attorneys and the insurance companies that we will not support a monetary settlement without a court hearing.
No, yeah.
yes, and I did, speak very briefly with, counsel, and that letter was received. And ultimately, she noted received and she understood, and ultimately the high group would make that decision. Okay, and I'll add that to the report. In terms of Anthony Snell, filing a claim, again, it was a claim, not a lawsuit, in which he filed it directly with the insurance carrier for $750,000. Counsel has heard nothing back. They did reach out to his counsel, but so far nothing, and no suit has actually been filed. All right, about to wrap up here. Notice to property owners of laborers, mechanics, and materials claim. So again, this is the entanglement with that ITEX property situation. And the last action that we had was MHA had 10 days to respond to that. And Sylvester Smith made a claim and really waiting to hear back, made a response and waiting to hear back from that, but have not gotten an update from Mr. Smith as of yet. One probably has not come down to him. But I will say, our newest development is that on February the 7th, this year, 2022, ITEX Development LLC have filed a action in civil court in U.S. District Court, District of Arkansas Central Division. And this is a suit against Little Rock Housing Authority, DBA, Metropolitan Housing Alliance. And so far, we have not been served, but I do know that it was filed, so.
I guess I'm gonna have to get dressed again.
Well, no process served is no suit.
Yeah, oh, yeah. It's not
Yeah.
official.
We've had that before.
Yep. Folks can file anything they want
Yeah,
to,
they can, sure can.
but proving it is another story.
Yeah, Lord.
So with the ITEX development, that's the latest, and there's been nothing more since. So anyway, just, I'm sure at some point,
Come on down.
service will happen.
All right.
It's kind of been a new thing, filed one day and wait a long time and serve,
I
yeah.
mean, even get rid up in the newspaper that you filed, and nothing happens.
Yeah. Okay, so that ends the legal report, and following that, unless you have some questions, Chairman of the board, it's procurement.
Okay, moving right along.
Just the addition of the board's position.
Yes, and I did, I've noted the position of the board's position, no monetary settlement, yes, which was voted and approved on the last board meeting, and I can confirm that council did receive that.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How's everyone doing this morning?
All righty.
So Chairman, this is a procurement, as you know, if you're ready for us. Okay.
Can you take one and pass it, please?
What you doing here? Get one, pass it on?
Yes, sir.
That's the next set.
That's the next one.
You're good.
Okay.
Okay, gotta go back to these.
Okay, pass
Come
it
on,
ahead.
come on out here. Mr. Lindsay?
You should pass it ahead. Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Now, what's that?
And our procurement, and it's why we're so resolution heavy, this meeting. So, Ms. Jada Johnson will explain why and what changes have been made.
Mr. Lindsay? Commissioner Lindsay?
So what I'm having passed out for those that are not at the board commissioners table is a copy of
Commissioner
the
Elizabeth?
2015 to 2020 budget, capital fund budget reports that are part of the annual planning process
One
50075.1.
more time.
Trees died, y'all.
Yeah,
Say what?
trees died.
Yeah, I
That's
don't,
the last one.
Okay.
So it's 2015 to 2020.
all right, let's get some order to this.
They're in order.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're in order. So
They're in
2015,
15 through 20. Look at the last numbers.
Mm-hmm.
15 through 20,
Yes, sir.
15 through 20.
Oh, that's 20 on top.
Okay.
Yeah, go back.
I got you. All right, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, all right. Okay?
All right. It's a lot of paper.
Yeah.
But to explain this in a manner that everyone feels comfortable, the 2015 and through the 2020 budgets is like the checkbook that comes in for the capital funds department to establish funding for the public housing units, okay? As we receive those funds, we normally have the board approve this information on the annual plan. So each year, we have an annual plan that's presented to you all, and you approve how these funds are allocated amongst the public housing sites. Public housing also includes auditing, administrative funds for the COCC office, and a couple of other items that are associated with the public housing locations. As we have converted these properties to RAD and been in process, some of these items has been allocated per line item to take care of some of just the emergency needs, but not the long-term needs. So what happens in this situation, as we are preparing for RAD, we're pulling funds to kind of do some patches in place for Sunset Terrace and at sometimes over at the Jesse Powell Towers or whatever, until we close the RAD renovations. So as we get closer to wanting to close the Sunset Terrace RAD conversion and the outstanding conversion, then the funds need to be reallocated or realigned so the monies can go towards the RAD conversion. So what I had to do is go in and readjust these budgets so they could support the funding to be transferred to the RAD conversion for Sunset Terrace at closing. And I had to go back all the way to 2015 because that particular budget had started at $866,845. The Housing Authority expended $525,196, and the remaining balance of that budget was $341,648.25. So what happens with that funds, I adjusted it so that it could go into RAD conversion for Sunset Terrace. And the way HUD wants us to do it, they want us to create a line under 1480 to have those funds in there, and then also a line under 1503 and 1504. At closing, when HUD approves the funding to be allocated for Sunset Terrace, they will automatically move those funds to 1503. And then they will allow us to move initial year funding monies to line 1504. So those three line items will be used for the RAD conversion. As I talked to my supervisor, I've been advised to allow funding for some audits and administrative and training. And of course, that comes down from the top. So I've allocated funds for those in the amount that was requested, so we can make sure that we distribute the funds according to being able to provide $4,750,000 to Sunset Terrace, and the remaining for the public housing operations, etc.
And all the adjustment, what was the balance that you come up with?
Yeah.
What's the balance right now for capital funds after all the adjustments?
For each year.
Well, I'm talking about now,
Now.
the
Okay.
rolling.
Sure.
Current.
So the overall balance for the budget revisions was $5,342,144.45.
And that's in the budget now.
That's what was in the budget, the date that these were actually done. But
Which
no
is-
movement has happened, so what happens once you all approve it,
Right,
sign on it,
Okay,
then that's how I'll allocate it in the Epic system as well.
So, what'll happen is, the resolutions that we're going to approve puts us get us ready for RAD.
Correct.
That we have, that we
Why
have.
do we need a resolution when that money is already part of the MDA?
Well, the NDA is totally different than our checking account.
Or our
Just a-
budget.
I mean, I agree with that,
No,
but the
but it's
MDA
still-
is a contract
Right,
concerning the project development.
And
and that's two separate things.
those
though.
two separate
Yeah.
things. And I have to
So-
reallocate from where these originally set.
Right.
Because they didn't set in these accounts that you see. If you go to the second page, you'll see that some of the money was, or the third page, you'll see that some of the money were allocated in different accounts.
Right?
And they still stood in those accounts. So I had to rearrange them, revise them to be able to represent the transaction that you all want to do.
But Chairman, I hear what you're saying because there has been a resolution that already allocated the $4 million.
Exactly.
For RAD.
But,
There,
okay,
I mean, that has happened, but I understand the paperwork that we're doing today is
the
just
backup
back up
for
to
that.
the
Okay,
resolution
yeah.
that we passed before.
Now,
On the seventh.
Sounds kind of redundant. to me.
it is.
Yeah,
There you
I
go.
did.
But anyway.
I heard that. I thought it was just me that was.
It's redundant.
I'm glad you.
We're
yeah,
backing
okay.
up to do something.
That's taken care of.
It's
And
already
the
been done,
resolution
right.
just clears it up and makes it,
I don't know what
Okay.
we'd have done if we didn't have the $4.75 million, but we did pass the resolution
Yeah, okay, all right.
754 to go ahead and allocate
Now.
that money. So this is just the cleanup work.
that is correct.
Go
Is
back
that
and
correct?
show that this is what it is.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cleanup.
Mm-hmm.
We're changing the line items.
Say again?
It's a paper trail
Yeah.
for all of us.
Right. For the budget, for what's in the budget.
Yeah.
This is the paper trail on those line items.
Saying, because it's been changed.
Yeah.
So as long as, we can say that the board was aware, they signed off on it, that's our purpose for doing this today. So,
Right,
Yeah, it's been allocated but not spent.
right.
not spent.
Yeah.
And this makes us ready to spend when it comes time, these resolutions do. All right, I got you, there you go. I thought that was the only one.
Oh,
I'm with you.
you got a shower and everything.
Yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir.
You good?
Okay, yeah, we got it, done it,
Yeah.
and this is just the sort of the back up to the work that's already, all right. Okay,
We good.
we good, thank you.
So, yes, and you're right. And Chairman Lowe, we were referring to you quite a bit on the phone that day,
Yeah.
and we understood that this has already been voted, but we thought we would need a nice paper trail to
This is the paper
explain.
trail. Okay.
So, yeah, and thank you, Jada. Now,
I mean, excuse me for speaking
No.
this, but my feeling is,
Uh-huh.
and this is just me speaking, and I really don't give a
Well,
about
What
what's
I'm
in
saying.
DC. There seems to be a whole lot of impediment to the things that we want to do as far as housing. I don't care whether it's public housing, for-profit housing. There seems to be
Well,
brick after brick after brick thrown at this agency trying to fulfill the mission that we need to do. Now, that's just me.
okay,
no, it's us.
yeah, yeah.
So now the budget revision will be supporting what you all want to do.
Okay,
And you sign off on it today, and we'll upload the proper information to HUD so
Yes,
they'll
sir.
know, and it'll be clearly stated in the system with supporting documents. And that should resolve any issues that you guys have moving forward with closing the transaction.
okay.
Now, I go over to the contract and procurement part of the procurement office. And as we all had agreed to move forward, I would submit the contract laws on a regular basis with the modifications of which you requested, which was on that same page that you see the actual contract. You also see a calendar date for us to be able to present it to you on the actual calendar date, so you won't have a whole different document.
So.
What are we looking at? All right,
Is
what-
it, are you referring to the document, the log that you passed out the last board meeting and showing?
Yes,
That,
that's right.
okay, all right, so they did get that last board meeting, but they don't have it in their packet today. Was there a change on it?
No, there's no change. in
Well,
it,
there should
other
be
than
changes.
the
I
change-
thought we asked for
Yeah,
change.
the only change, I do apologize, the only change, like I said, was making sure that
That's
on
what we
that
wanna see.
front page, and I have a copy here, on the front page, you guys wanted to have a copy of the actual
the date.
calendar date,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, that we get it, that's what we wanna see.
Exactly,
Okay.
and I do apologize for you
That-
guys
But you
not
can
having
give-
a copy of that.
And
Here
I
it is
think
right
that's,
here.
that,
You could just, y'all just have to look.
Well, the other part of that was the quality.
yes,
Of the
how they're performing, you know.
And that has a time frame on it.
Just let me look at it.
Yeah. that's
And
just
that
one
has a
law.
time frame on it of what, 90 days?
Yes, and that
Yes.
date is actually on there.
Okay.
It shows that calendar date 90 days prior to, so you guys will start receiving documentation and also requests. And I had, a part of my, report is that I contact the contractors to allow them to know of our new process, so they'll know that to present a request for extension and or new contract with, the procurement department, so we can present it to you all in a timely manner. And as we go down and, resolve some of the other actions that we've had on this report for a little while, we've been working through all of the items like the printer systems, the AMSCO systems. One of the things that you guys will see today is that you do have a resolution to work with us or work with the agency on the cooperative agreement, stating that we are allowed to work with some of the companies that's already been approved through a public entity and or has been reviewed under a process that is similar to what the Housing Authority reviews vendors under. That resolution is in your packet.
That's what you just handed me right here, okay.
I will let you all know that as of right now, the software RFP has been amended to February 28, 2022. It's been changed from a RFQ to a RFP, and it also reduced the years of historical information collected to 7 years instead of 10. We also have the RFP for real estate broker service that's currently out. It is due on 3/10/2022. One of the things that I want to bring to you all's attention, we did send out solicitations for the loan and the auditors. And as of now, I have not sent any like notification on what the board wishes to do on the next step. And I'm hoping that you all will allow or give me some insight on how you want me to move forward. Do I need to make notifications to these vendors to let them know, you know, something that represents what your next steps want to be?
Well, like I said before, in last month's board meeting, I have a problem with the one that BKD submitted because those dates don't line up. And I would rather be safe than sorry. I don't think that's a valid proposal. But I don't think that one should go forward, but that's just my opinion.
So when you state that the dates don't line up, are you, what are you?
I mean, it's in printed right down the document, 2018, come on now.
Okay, so he did submit the document, this is what Commissioner Lowe was saying, he did submit the documentation on the time that the bids were due, but instead of him refreshing his paperwork, he submitted the documentation that was already on file with his company. And he addressed it in a letter that he attached to that previous bid that he had submitted when he won the bid before. So that's what he's saying.
I mean, I think that's disingenuous,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah, that's a lazy way of doing
That's why I
something.
said, me personally, I wouldn't qualify. I mean, it's cut and
Did you
paste,
see the
that's
letter?
all it is.
Did you see it? The letter?
It's not but cut and paste.
Did the, I guess my question would be, did the request for service change at the time that we made the request from what we had made when he made the proposal in 2018? Was the requirements any different the
From
second round
the
than it
original.
was than the original? That would be my first question.
I
did
mean,
he-
I would
because
say, I
think
would
you're
say
throwing-
yes, because
but-
the additional things that HUD has required with the
Okay, well, if,
ARP
then
money.
he didn't
the-
address those.
That's right.
Then he didn't address them.
Mhm.
Rather than getting caught up on the date, I want
Mm-hmm.
to know about the quality of the
The
proposal.
submission, right.
Did he actually, was his
Great.
information parallel to what we were requesting in the second round?
And that's the question that,
And I would like to look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All valid.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
But right now,
I
I
hear
would.
Oh, yeah. All right.
you. Just telling you.
for the due diligence of the other
Yeah.
firms that submitted, can you all allow me something to let them know what your next steps are gonna be?
We'll vote on it.
Okay, thank
We'll vote
you.
on it.
Outside of those items, I don't have anything else for you all today. Are there any questions that you'd like for me to answer?
Well, going forward, this is February,
Yeah.
with the aid and direction of Director Benedicto, that we sent out a bid for lawn services now. Growing season usually goes from March through October. March is right around the corner. So that's a suggestion that I want to put on the table.
Well,
Somebody's up.
Yeah, the outside actual food.
They need Bobby down.
all right.
I saw him the other day.
So end of the discussion,
None.
but I'll reiterate it once she
Once
comes
she
back
returns,
in.
okay.
Yeah, it's that time of year again. Mhm. I mean, just understanding, Director Benedicto, that it's that time of year,
Yes, sir.
and that needs to go out,
For the Lawrence Summers?
right.
Okay,
From March through October is usually the growing season, so
Okay.
it's that time.
okay.
Anything further?
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Johnson.
All right. Thank you. And so Chairman, under the development piece, I don't have actually any report or new things to report under development.
I would make a
Can I
motion.
make, yeah, I would say, can I defer here for a moment, make a modification? Since we have the developer here and that we allow Mr. Swain to
Address.
present.
And just so you're aware, Josh Bluer, who's with us, has to leave at 1.
Okay.
So if
yeah.
you wanted to do a quick update on the property management side.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Would that be-
Well, However you want to proceed.
Yeah.
Okay, that'd be great. Sorry to throw you the bus on that.
Used to it, I'm used to it, so that's all right.
He didn't even hit the brakes.
Good afternoon, board, Chairman.
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
Just a couple quick updates for operations at the towers. You know, our team is still moving forward very strong. We have a really strong collaborative partnership with Connie and her team to repair some occupancy challenges we've faced over the winter, but I feel really good about where we're at with that relationship and confident we'll get full and occupied with their waitlist purge very quickly. We still have a partnership with LRPD, which I think went really well. Commissioner
Okay.
Jackson, I know you attended a resident meeting where 2 of their officers were present to just talk about personal safety and encouraging
Yep.
phone calls and anonymous tip line and everything that we can do to help mitigate crime in our communities, which I think has had a good positive impact. They'll be back quarterly during our resident meetings to just, help improve that relationship and give residents tools to stay safe. And then other than that, our service coordinator, Karanda Womack, and I'm sure you're experiencing this too, a lot of our partners are still staying virtual.
Mhm.
So that's been a challenge. We know our residents if there's ever a time where they need services and programming and partners there, it's now.
Yeah.
So we're really, really trying to be a squeaky wheel and get our partners back into daily and weekly programming. So we're hopeful in March that'll occur with some of our key partners, but that's really been a priority with our service coordinator.
Let me ask you, Josh, and some of the other outside groups, have they contacted you to kind of keep those lines of communications open? Specifically, the Clark Park Quarter Association, as well as Capital Zoning, those groups in and around Parish Towers?
Including the state representative for that area?
Yeah. I mean, have they, you know,
State Representative Enid and I had a conversation a few months, been a few months, but we did, I believe it was December. Because I know there were a couple neighbor concerns about just essentially loitering outside the property. It's really just residents who want to get out of their homes and
They
Wait a minute,
complain
loading
about that.
outside?
socialize,
Wait a
right?
minute, loading outside the property?
They complain
No,
about
within the,
people
on
disagreeing.
property ground.
On property.
I mean, how you gonna load it where you live?
Well,
Well,
Come on,
no,
okay.
yeah.
All right.
So, yeah, but that's important, so State Representative Enid and I have spoken about that.
I mean, I hate to call a spade, but that seems to be an instigating to something deeper that doesn't occur. I mean, common sense don't seem to be common anymore. How you gonna load it where the place that you live, and wanna criminalize
Yes.
behavior, that's
Unfortunately.
legal.
So that's a challenge we face, I know, we face it together.
Well, some of this is fair housing implementing, and I think that, and I also shared that with Representative Enid, is that some of the complaints are merely fair housing. And I think for the residents and Director, Representative Enid, that building was there when most of that population moved there. That population of people were living there. They chose to live near them. They did not choose to live near the Quapaw folk. So that's an element that as a board, that at some point, we will have to address. Because it is the rights of those individuals to live where they live and the quality of their life to enjoy where they live. But it is a situation that, we get the calls and complaints, and I have said, I will file the fair housing if need be, because it is, we've had complaints about trash being on the street. We've had complaints about cars being left on the street that had nothing to do with the residents. Some of the stuff has been so ridiculous until I found it hard that I would get that call. But at some point, Chairman, this board needs to meet with the residents.
Or something, yeah.
And the state representative needs to be there. Because some of the stuff
I
that
agree.
is complained about is just totally insane.
Right.
They set out, during COVID, they literally, the only place they could go was sitting on the property.
Outside.
And you guys moved the bench. I never would have moved the bench. Because it was their right to sit on the benches regardless to where they were.
That's a yard.
But you guys moved the bench from where it was because that side of the population was complaining that they were sitting outside.
See, that's what I mean by criminalizing legal behavior. It gives an underlying jab at a segment of the population that we gonna tell you what to do, how to act, where to go.
In your house, in your
It's not a good feel and it's not a good look.
Yeah,
But
of course,
Josh-
we're open to having those
Yes,
those
sir.
collaborations, of course.
Right there.
Now, if we do have some residents who might get loud or disturb the peace, that's a different story. And we
But let me
have-
ask you, how many police calls have you had there, Paris?
That's a good question.
I can't, don't quote me on it.
I won't.
We do get monthly reports that my assistant Letitia gets, so I can report back to you on that.
Okay.
If you'd like, absolutely.
It all-
Yeah,
I can
'cause
tell you that I have not received a single complaint in the last 2 months from
Hadn't heard
neighbors.
one. Right.
Now, we know in summer, there's more people outside, so those go up, but, again, it's something our team takes seriously. Those residents have the right to enjoy
they do.
the property. It's a nice large property. if they cross the line into disturbing the peace or getting loud or boisterous,
Right,
then we'll
right.
handle that
That's right, right,
appropriately,
right.
but that's where we're going.
Well, I'd like to elaborate on that. Myself, I've taken several trips through Paris Towers, just off hours, to show up anytime. And the majority of the time is at night when people are saying that the peak of crime is happening. And each time I have walked by there, there's probably no more than about 3 people out. And that's including the security. It's there at night. So, that being said, I have received reports that a lot of stuff has cleared up because of the patrols of the police department. And he's talked to Militant, Officer Militant, and the other officer, I can't think of his name.
Officer Van Watson.
Yeah, those 2 officers there are going around to all the towers and holding meetings and asking questions for people that would have questions. And like I said, Paris has got a lot better in the last 2 weeks as far as my complaints that I've received. And I've seen the police over there a lot. They're not there just for a call. They're sitting off for the parking lot, sitting around the parking lot, you know, just patrolling. They might be doing reports, I don't know, but their presence is there. So that's cleared up a whole lot. And that was what was part of my report today. So,
When we're not going anywhere.
Right.
That building
Right.
isn't floating
Yeah,
away.
yeah,
We have to be
gotta go
good
nowhere.
neighbors.
Yes, sir.
But our job at Gorman, we have to enforce the lease fairly equally
Right,
and
right,
consistently,
right.
and we will. But
And the police present is for the neighborhood as much as it is.
it's for them,
Yeah,
right,
right.
that's what I'm
Because the
saying.
thing about it, it's hard for you to say something is happening when the police is sitting there.
Exactly.
Okay, so that the police presence is also for the neighbors. And the random complaints and unnecessary complaints that sometimes we hear. Now, they're not responsible for fast cars going down the street.
No.
And that's been some of the complaints that we've heard. You know, they're in the street, they're parked on here, they're this, they're that, and we're going, what? It's been some of the areas of, we still get those calls.
Yep.
So I'm just saying that, and I'm like you, I drive that way often too, just to see what's going on, and there's nothing there.
Let me ask you, Josh, has notice been sent out, even though Arkansas is a medical marijuana state, that is still illegal on our grounds?
Oh, yeah, we have crime-free, drug-free addendum.
Okay.
That's,
Even though they may have a medical marijuana card, you can't smoke it in our buildings on our property.
nope, exactly.
No smoke or fire material is advised on the campus, on the property. And like I said, I think at all the towers, safe to say, you're still fighting that a little bit because it's hard to catch, who's doing it. But the one thing that messes it up is the air circulate, the air cords that go through the building. Somebody could be smoking it on the 3rd floor and it show up on the 9th floor like they smoking it in their apartment. And so, that being said, that's even got a little bit better, because I like in my building, I don't smell it as much as I used to. It was like every day after 5 o'clock, they blaze up. They blazing it up. But now, even after 5 o'clock, they don't. But the only thing that I have seen a little bit like in our area is drug sales. And now the police are starting to come now because it's like, where's the policeman when you need him?
Well, that brings me back to another question. I know prior to Gorman being in town and dealing with security in Paris, working with the Little Rock Police Department, there were unannounced walkthroughs. Has that been part of the discussion?
Yeah, we've been trying, I've been talking to Officer Hastings, Chief Hastings,
Chief,
and trying to get something like that going again, because that's the only way I think you're gonna be able to do it, because everybody pretty much got it back now. When the manager's there, they know, keep it quiet. When they know the manager gone, everything blazes up. So for them to do anything, the walks would be good, like in the evenings, at night, on the weekends, catching them off guard.
We've
But-
had,
but they
Chairman
need-
Lowe, we've had
they
those
need on-
conversations.
They need owner permission to do that, though.
Right, we've
On a- on a
we've
patrol
started
car.
those
Yeah.
conversations, but they're apprehensive. Number one, they're short-staffed. They
Right.
don't have the resources
Right.
to be patrolling private property to that depth.
Mhm.
Okay, so we have started those conversations. I don't feel like they're gonna go much deeper there, to be
Mhm.
frank with you, but
Mhm.
we have been able to at least get them there quarterly,
Right.
increase patrol around the surrounding areas, so those are wins that we've had definitely the last few months. I don't foresee them coming in and patrolling the hallways to any degree.
Mhm.
And quite frankly, right now, you know, going back to Commissioner Jackson's point about drug sales, our biggest challenge is to encourage residents to call if they see something happen and at the point it's happened. It's diminished greatly, and we, of course, are lead, but our big, and that's a lot of the reason we've had LRPD there, is to just, you can call anonymous tip lines.
Mhm,
Here's
mhm.
some areas, because they're scared to call.
Even the officers that
That's-
have been in the meetings offered that.
Yeah,
You know, they said, we can't help if y'all don't tell us.
Well, I can make it a bottom line. You want to run the risk of losing your housing? You're free to do so, but you will get up out of here.
So you ain't gotta leave, but you gotta
Yeah,
go
you get up
somewhere.
outta here.
But yeah, I like to thank, Josh, matter of fact, we talked yesterday, and it's like, he keeps in touch with me periodically, and if I got some questions, I can call him. So we've been working on it. Like I told him yesterday about trying to get the council up, and, you know, I've been trying to work on that too as well. One thing that the police officer did say to me that made sense is kind of, with the crime rate going up like it is,
Going up.
drugs is like on the back burner. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's bad to say it like that, but that's basically what they're doing. It's like for instance, in the last 2 weeks, we've had 2 murder shootings right in block from my house. And so, you know, it's like, that is really like taking the case. It's like a murder a day and a murder and a half a day. And, you know, with them being shorthanded, I can understand that part, but we doing the best we can and they doing the best they can.
Well,
so-
I mean, being systematic crime is only a symptom of a bigger problem, okay?
Mhm.
And my thing is that, you know, until, and I hate folks using this word, being more holistic, and to me, holistic means mother, father, child, okay? To me, that's holistic, giving folks the solutions that are needed. But in this day and age, and folks keep saying this all the time, and I'm tired of hearing it, we can't police our way out of this. Well, we need to come up with an equal balance, okay? The old stick and carrot approach. For every dollar that you spend on enforcement, you need to spend $1 over here on social justice, okay?
Prevention, yeah.
Well, not only prevention, but intervention and treatment as well,
Yes,
okay?
okay, that's.
Holistically means family. It does no good to straighten out a child and send them back in that same mess. It does no good. So, until we take this thing seriously and bring the community involved to address that social construct, mother, father, child, we're gonna keep getting what we've been getting.
That's true.
Much of what we're doing, Josh, is trying to get ahead of a lot of this stuff before the summertime. And in doing that is also placing programs into place that we're now getting people signing up for, especially our young people. And if we keep them busy, we can keep the issues of folks just going somewhere to get into something because they ain't nothing else to do.
Right.
Mhm.
So that's just, one of the things that we're doing is, again, just before March 20th and springtime starts budding and school is out, we're trying to get ahead of it by making sure
Really
there's
gonna-
enough
Yes, sir.
Barbecue
folk
time.
before that happens. We're also trying to locate trouble spots that are parent today, so they don't have an opportunity to grow up and become adults out there. It's just some of the stuff that we're doing, and like I said, our partners are coming out. Whether it's CAOS, the library system, we did the COVID test giveaway with them, and other programs that are coming out. So, like I said yesterday, we're willing to share information of resources that are coming out anytime. But we are doing sign up for programs and stuff now. So to make sure that, we also getting volunteers from the summer program with the city of Little Rock. We don't have to pay them, we just have to give them something to do.
Get them there.
Which is also gonna be a learning experience for some of the kids, whether they're in the office or on the grounds. So we have applied for those as well.
You know, and that's one of the advantages we have at the towers too, is we don't have many kiddos living there. We really don't. There are not that demographic between like 11 and 21. There are very few of that age, which I know tends to be where most criminal activity happens in that age range, so. But yeah, let's stay connected, Commissioner Anthony, with any efforts you're doing as well as us. I know I saw last night, Mayor Scott is providing like a weekly crime update on efforts, so it does seem that feels like Little Rock's crime has spiked in the last few months as well, so we're in this together, but let's stay connected on any partners you have that we could utilize as well.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Judge.
you, Josh.
Take care, Josh.
You did well under the bus.
I live under a bus.
What you say you good under pressure?
Anything further, Mr. Swinton?
Yeah, no, and just to close that out, I want to thank Josh. I learned last night that Josh has been with Gorman and Company a year longer than I have. I didn't know that until last night, but he's been with us for 15 years, and really, we brought, the best of our team to the table here in Little Rock, and Josh is really the best of the best in our company, so. And it's hard work. I took himself and his team, his management team, maintenance supervisor, regional area manager to dinner last night. Maddie and Ron from Coates Rose joined us as well, and sort of an impromptu thing, but it's a motivated team. It's a pretty skilled team, and I was just real impressed with what Josh has assembled out there at the tower. So thank you, Josh, for that. I also wanted to introduce William Towns. If you raise your hand, Will.
Towns.
Will is a new national director in our company for public housing and neighborhood revitalization. And he's brought him on within the last year to really bolster our development team on the RAD side of things. He's going to sort of be by my side through the Sunset transaction, and I'm passing the baton to him on Madison Heights, and I'll be by his side for that, but he's going to take more of a lead role there. So glad to have Will here from Chicago, where he's based. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Brian Swanton. I'm the president and CEO at Gorman and Company. And we're really excited to be your partner and continue our partnership to get through all these hoops that you guys have to deal with to accomplish that mission that Chairman Lowe keeps talking about. And that's redeveloping Sunset Terrace, Madison Heights, homes at Granite Mountain, and all the other exciting things that you guys want to accomplish for this community. So thank you for trusting us to be a partner in that. We really do appreciate that. We do have Matty Jones and Ronald Bell here from Coates Rose. They're really your representatives and representing the transaction to make sure that that gets structured in a way that's best for the housing authority. Obviously, we want terms that are good for us too, right? It's a back and forth.
Right.
But I think we're working through those issues really well. They're some of the best in the country at what they do, and so I appreciate having them on the team. Quick update on Sunset Terrace. We did have an opportunity to be hosted by Commissioner Anthony in her role as President Anthony for CHC out at Madison Heights yesterday with the mayor. And we've got an opportunity to thank the mayor firsthand for his advocacy on behalf of the residents at Sunset Terrace. Honestly, without his push at the governor's office, I'm not sure the winds would have changed in our favor like they did. So that was really nice to have that event. So thank you, Commissioner Anthony, for hosting that, bringing the mayor in, so we could personally thank you. Just a quick update. I got a couple of notes here, so I didn't forget what to share with you. But we're currently finalizing our debt and equity letters from Lumens, who's our debt provider, through Freddie Mac, and Bank of America, who's our equity provider. We're hoping to get those letters signed today and back to those two partners. Once we do that, they can authorize their attorneys to start work.
Right.
And start our weekly closing calls. We're trying to target, we initially targeted closing in April. We've had some slowdown with the HUD regional office, field office here. We're working through that. We heard an update from your staff earlier. It seems like we're close to being over that hump. I think there's a resolution that they need to get, and once they get that, they should give us the all clear so that the RAD team at HUD, who's eager to get going, can issue what's called an RCC, which is really the final step before closing in the process. And that's a RAD conversion commitment, and it's basically the final terms of their green light to close on our financing and convert the transaction. Once we receive a RAD conversion commitment, which we had hoped to have already,
Right.
we don't have it in hand yet, it'll take about 60 days to close. So, if we can get that within the next 30 days, we're mid-February, that'll put us in mid-March. Hopefully we can even close as early as May. I'm telling folks the end of June, just,
Right.
So we can
Be safe.
under-promise and maybe over-deliver
Mhm.
on that. So that's kind of our timeline, but it's very exciting that we're finally at this point where we can confidently say we're moving. We do have to have one more resident meeting, as per the regulations, the RAD regulations. And it's something we want to do to stay in communication with the residents anyway. They've been enthused. Really, the theme of our previous resident meetings has been, okay, you've been talking about getting started for a long time now. Is this real? And we're trying to convince them that this is real now. But that's a hard thing to convince them of, and I understand that. There's a little bit of frustration on the residents' behalf. But we'll work through that. That's not uncommon. So we will stay in lockstep with MHA and the staff here and the board in terms of when we schedule that and how we handle that meeting. So, I just want to remind people that the Sunset transaction, it's only 87 units, but it's a $24 million transaction. It's, this is not a small undertaking, and 15 million of that is hard construction costs. So we're making a direct investment in the economy of $15 million the day we close that transaction. So, and a lot of that's coming from this agency through their CAP funds, so almost 5 million of that. It's a big investment in the community, and I think we tried to highlight that. Commissioner Anthony really made a point of that yesterday with the mayor, and I think that's something we should continue to push the economic benefits of these transactions in terms of construction, sales tax, labor, payroll taxes. It's in the millions of dollars, and so reinvesting in this housing is really important, not just for the residents, but for the broader economy. So we talked about the closing timeline. We do need to determine how the capital funds get sort of layered into the deal. That's one sort of point that we've been trying to tackle other issues. So once we get our RCC, that's something we really quickly have to determine. I know you guys don't want to put it all in on the day one, and I totally understand that. But we do have to figure out, because the investor is going to want to know what the schedule of pay on that capital funds are. So that's something we can handle together in the coming weeks. Still waiting on that all clear from the HUD field office. And then we'll start bi-weekly calls. That'll involve ADFA as well. We do have to go back to ADFA, which is a state agency board, one more time. And the sole purpose of that meeting, and it's the full board, not the subcommittee, the sole purpose of that meeting is supposed to be just to approve the final bond documents, the form of the bond documents. So it should be a fairly automatic. We're hoping that certain board members don't use that meeting as an opportunity to relitigate the fact that this is an expensive project. We all know it's expensive. We all know why it's expensive. So we're hoping that that won't happen. But it's a very narrow agenda item, so hopefully they stay.
Yeah, but he want to spend 100 million for jails.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Just 500 beds.
Hey, watch out now.
Yeah. And then I think finally on Sunset, the two big outstanding issues are, construction costs are not working in our favor.
Right.
We have gone out to bid. We have very aggressive Section 3 and local hiring goals that we're trying to meet. We do currently, based on the bids we have in hand, have a fairly significant budget gap that we're still trying to work on. The ADFA board, as part of their approval, insisted that we not value engineer the plans, and I'm sure you all don't want to value engineer the quality of the project either. But there is a budget sort of challenge that we're trying to, so we're just gonna have to keep reaching out to more subcontractors and get better bid coverage.
Let me ask you, Mr. Swan, do they understand that that property hadn't been touched since 1942?
The board? the
Yeah,
state-
that's the board, yeah. Do they understand that?
Korean War.
That property hadn't
We
had a
made
major
that point.
upgrade since 1942.
Yeah, we've made that point, and it's a large site too.
Right,
There's a lot of site
right.
infrastructure that's part of, and that's one of the things we really highlighted with them is that, you know, our development costs include massive amounts of site
Mhm.
infrastructure investments, so, you know, you just beat these points to death and some will listen and some won't, and enough people listened to us and they voted in favor of the project, so I'm riding on my horse
Okay.
on that point. And then the final issue that we've had some conversations with about yesterday was relocation. We really need to fine tune our relocation plan. Had a great meeting with the county, Pulaski County Housing Authority, was very cooperative and willing to work with us to help port some of the larger families in particular, just to give them better options for temporary relocation. It's important to point out that anyone that has to move off-site during construction has a statutory right to return to the project when it's done. So no one is displaced unless they choose not to come back on their own. So the federal government and the RAD rules require that they give those folks priority right to return. So just want to sort of highlight that. But a lot of people will choose not to come back, and that's fine too. If they find better options and don't want to move again, that's their choice. But it's all about their choice. But we committed to focusing our next bi-weekly call with the MHA team on relocation so we can help fine-tune that action plan. And then we're off to the races. So that's kind of the update on Sunset Terrace. Any questions on
Sounds
that
good.
transaction? Okay.
Yeah, are they using any historic credits on this?
They got him to the deal too late for that. He's asking about the historical tax
Historical.
credits.
Yeah, so that ship sailed long before
Right,
I
before
got
you got
involved, to be
involved,
honest
right.
with you. And basically, there's too much exterior improvement taking place, which we think is for the betterment of the neighborhood and the community. We're putting on front porches, and making major changes to the front facades, and that's a big no-no for historic preservation. So we have a 300-unit project in Phoenix where we designed these fancy front porches, and SHPO and the National Park Service ripped them off the plans and said you can't do that and get historic credit. So we rehabbed what was there, and it's okay, but it still looks like public housing. Here, we really want transformational change.
Right.
And so we bypassed the historic credit, which would have been a great extra source, but we wouldn't be able to do much on those exterior
The
facades.
reason I had asked that is because of the historic part of Sunset. It was actually built in 1942 for the factory workers, for all the factories that were there during World War II. And that's where they lived, so I thought, that's why I was asking about it.
But I think there's ways we can celebrate that history, even if we're not using the historic credit, in terms of maybe the clubhouse could have some, wall paintings and historic photography that sort of celebrates some of that history.
Yeah.
We've done that in many of our projects. Maybe have some kind of an art component that celebrates that history as well. That's a great point. We'll keep that in mind.
Okay.
So that's Sunset Terrace, very exciting. And the next few months will be a flurry. We really appreciate Director Benedicto and her whole team. It's been an all-hands effort, and it's not going to get easier, unfortunately, the next 4 months. Once we close, we'll be out of your hair pretty completely, but the next 4 months will be a flurry, so I apologize in advance for that. And then just real quick on Madison Heights, as I mentioned, Mr. Towns will be taking the lead. I will be working by his side on that to help that along. We're just getting into the due diligence aspects of it. The big sort of hurdle right now is trying to get legally access to the plans. And so we're managing our way through that process now. We're very close to sort of having a solution there. And so we'll probably have a better update for you and maybe even a presentation from the architect in a future meeting they were planning on coming here today, that just legally weren't ready to do that. So,
Okay.
that's the update.
Just one thing that was really pressing, that was brought up by Pulaski County, and I just want to keep that on your plate, is the length of the project for Sunset. For the purpose of the relocation, even in consideration for the children that will, because we do have children at Sunset,
Yeah.
and the impact on their ability to be in different schools or school districts. That was just a major point that we hope will be a part of our next conversation, is the actual length of the Sunset project.
Absolutely, and duly noted. I think that's the biggest challenge is the school situation, trying to minimize, kids don't want to start at a new school period. Hopefully we can avoid that, but we'll just have to see household by household what
Right.
options we have. And we're hoping that most folks, or a large percentage of folks, can just stay on site actually during construction and then move into some of the newly refurbished units once they become available, and then snake our way through the development that way. But that initial phase, you just have to force a certain amount of displacement, temporary displacement, to open up enough units to start construction. So, but we'll work through that and keep the needs of the children certainly at the forefront.
Anything further? Well, we appreciate you, Mr. Swain. Hope
Okay.
you, hope you enjoyed your stay here in Little Rock.
It's been beautiful except for the rain this morning.
We thought you bought it.
Well, our door's always open, and we look forward to it.
We won't be strangers, and thank you for being such gracious hosts. We really appreciate it.
Appreciate yourself. I'd like to congratulate Commissioner Anthony. I went by Madison Heights last week, and she showed me around, and it is it's gorgeous. It's,
Best kept secret in Little
lovely.
Rock.
I mean, everything is gorgeous. I like how they're handling their residents when it comes to complaints, even when it's rough. When it's rough and you got those complaints that they just like tugging at you constantly. They so patient and they handle everything just, perfect. And so I just want to congratulate
Thank
you
you.
on that.
Thank you. I share that with the team.
Mhm. Director Benedicto, I'd like to divert if Maddie or Ron wants to say anything. No, I probably caught you off guard.
Bridger's kids, so we're Chairman, board members, happy to be here. Maddie Jones with Coast Rose. I'm joined today by Ron Bell in our office and our Affordable Housing Group. It has been a delight to work with the Housing Authority team, CAH team, and enjoying our opportunity to work aside CEO Eric Benedicto. We have attempted to identify the various categories of tasks so that we can very expeditiously prosecute all of the various things as we represent the board. And we're excited and find it a privilege to be on the team. We're working closely with the Gorman team and again, of course, the Housing Authority to make sure that we're setting clear tasks and timelines so we can meet milestones according to the vision of the board and also be responsive to the various parties that are our partners, including HUD, and our financial partners, that we are being quite particular about making sure that those business deals are discussed at the forefront of the discussions in term sheets and letters of interest, so that they will show up as such in the closing documents. So with that, we're just honored to be here and look forward to these closings. In the early, like late spring and in the fall. So if any questions for me or Mr. Bell, we're just happy to be here.
Thank you. Anybody? Well,
Thank you.
now, you know where we are. Like I say, we tend to be the best kept secret in Little Rock. Don't be a stranger. Our doors are always open.
Thank you so much.
All right, Director Benedicto.
Okay, so, resolution time, and I will say, the long list is pretty much what Ms. Johnson covered already, what she passed out, and she made copies. for me. You did get some of that in your email, except for this additional documentation I can forward to you. The first resolution has to do with, and I believe Commissioner Anthony may have already brought it up. It is resolution number it's resolution number 2022-02-6810. And this is the resolution authorizing the executive director to approve the director of finance the authority to reconcile and accept transactions affiliated with renaming accounts located at Regions Bank. And here is the actual resolution
okay.
here. Yeah, you're looking for it.
we ain't got
Yeah, so I'm just gonna hand this to you, and I will put it in your binder if you just leave it, this afternoon. I had to, had a little visitor in our lobby this morning, so.
Okay.
Get that out. So that is actually the resolution, number 2022-02-6810, and it is the changing of the bank name to reflect what it needs to reflect. And as you can see, it's renaming an account located in Regions Bank.
Let me ask you, and I know this is out of your purview, have we done any type of research or analysis as to the best financial institutions that are for us?
What kind of that?
I mean, whether it's different banks or CDI, are we limited as to where we can put our money to get the best service for us, less the fees?
You know, we talked about that
Yeah,
several years ago,
Yeah,
but I don't think that was, you know, no one was amenable.
We have the ability to, if that's what.
Say again?
We have the ability to move our money. Because, I mean, we use various banks now, so.
Who, oh, okay.
I guess that would be part of a negotiation, because I know they treat us as commercial banks, commercial accounts,
Yeah.
and thereby
Instead of a
being commercial, they're gonna
nonprofit.
charge us some fees.
Oh, okay.
And I'm saying that there are some commercial accounts where there are no fees charged whatsoever.
I think the fees are kind of associated with transactions. If you're writing checks and doing ACH, you,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know many banks that wouldn't charge fees for that, so. That's the, I mean, but we can, I could possibly get a banker to. maybe-
Well, now, are we only just talking banks, we talking credit unions as well? Because they have commercial accounts that charges no fees.
Oh, okay. No, we don't have a credit union account, but I can look into that.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
That might even be good for them.
I'll help you with-
For credit
Yeah.
union.
I'll work on
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
Okay.
it. All right, yeah, we'll follow. Well, I'll work with it, we'll do something for the board.
okay.
Okay.
Alrighty, moving right along, and you may recall that Ms. Johnson presented on this at the last board meeting about the intergovernmental affairs agreements and a resolution authorizing the executive director to enter into intergovernmental agreements. And if you're looking for that resolution, because you normally have it in your binder, I have it in my hand. And so,
Run that one back by me again.
and this resolution is coming your way. It's the resolution authorizing the executive director to enter into intergovernmental agreements. And Ms. Johnson is here, but you might recall when she did the presentation about the procurement process and these vendors being pre-approved.
Oh,
And the
yes,
state already having this,
And already being able to
process.
use some of the providers that were even coming
Yes.
through the
Oh,
state
yeah,
government.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
yeah, and
Which is
so,
a part of our cooperative agreement or
You're right.
whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, we-
And so we were advised to do a resolution for that, for this meeting.
Well, I don't want to get it confused with the intergovernmental agreement as far as lobbying that we have with the design
Yeah.
group, okay?
I said affairs, I didn't mean to say that. It's not actually stated like that on the resolution.
Well, it's stated like that here.
Okay.
But the
Okay.
resolution states Board of Commissioners and cooperative purchasing
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
in the resolution.
That's what it should be, a
Yes, yeah.
cooperative purchase
Purchasing.
agreement, that's what it should be.
Okay.
So it is in the body, we can change the heading.
Yeah, because most of us at this table know what intergovernmental relations are and how we interact with them. I mean, I'm just looking for some clarity. That's
Yeah,
all.
I understand what you're saying, and, we can change the heading. It is stated in the body, and like I said, it didn't read affairs, I just misstated that.
Mhm.
But we can certainly change that to better reflect, what you're saying, as to
Yeah,
not
that's
cause
better.
confusion.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
just ask for some clarity, that's all.
Yeah, noted. Okay,
And then the next resolutions are pertaining to
yes.
the,
The next five, 1, 2, 3, 4, they're all pertaining to what Ms. Johnson presented, about those,
Capital fund.
yeah, those
Capital
capital
fund.
funds that really you all have already voted on, but some line items were changed, and so she did bring in copies of that, but that's what it is. And I can go ahead and read each one. No?
It's 68, 12, 13, 14, 15,
16
and 16,
and
Yeah.
7.
and 17 all deal with the capital fund
Yes, sir.
situation that we need to put in place in our budget, so to be ready for the road, right?
Red.
Right?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Mhm.
Yeah, I just think this got me totally convoluted, all of this. Because this had been done.
so we
Right.
had to- no, it hadn't been done.
The budget had been done, had been prepared, but we had a budget for this. Now, what we need to do, the finance director will have to go and amend the budget to reflect this.
Yes.
Right.
I mean,
So
as I
this is-
said,
this
things
is-
were
I
allocated, we just hadn't spent them dollars
All
yet,
right.
that's all.
Now, let me ask this question about the capital fund. You know, there are some that, if not spent, will go away, right? There's a time limit on some of them.
Well, not necessarily spent, but you may have obligated
Okay,
them and
all right.
not, for a certain project in the future.
And that's what we have done now.
Right, that's what we've done with that 4.75.
That's right, okay.
We've obligated that
Right.
amount, but we hadn't spent it yet.
I just try to keep up with y'all.
You don't wanna run off and do that. You don't wanna run off and do this, and you want to keep it
That's
going.
Yes, sir, understood,
I mean, it's some
understood.
things that
Mm,
we expect you to be on top of, and that we look to you for. This is, yeah. All right.
That's why
You
he's on the finance committee.
That's exactly right.
You good?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
no,
keep it
I
all
hear
day.
you.
No, that's the problem. I don't keep it.
That's what I'm saying, you trying to keep it right there.
But I wanna know who to go to.
Yes.
that has
Get it, right.
And they can tell me exactly how, this is where we did this belongs here, and that's what's there, and that's what our director,
Yes.
our finance person, you my finance person was. Okay,
Yes, sir.
all right.
Yes,
That's
sir.
it.
And you're
I think you try to
right.
confuse me something. All right, come on. I'm sorry.
No, you're okay. And, as you stated, or, Commissioner Anthony stated, it is 22-02-6812 down to, 22-02-6817. They're all dealing with the capital funds and
Right.
those provisions.
Yeah, to be-
And so I guess I've heard a resounding no as to reading all of those resolutions. But I can just read one. Yeah, resolution authorizing and approving the annual capital fund budget transfer for fiscal year 2015 through 2020.
Good.
Okay. And now this one, the resolution to add service to the MHA employee handbook as an organizational value. Now, this is a very, very brief resolution. I was just looking through the handbook, thinking about hearing you all talk about service and customer service, and thinking that this is really a great core value for this agency. And I did go ahead and, with the permission of Chairman Lowe, draft up something. Now, this is something that you have not seen, and I will go ahead and just give it to you at this moment because it was actually sent out this morning. And this is, again, to adopt service as a core value. We already have integrity, honesty, some wonderful ones at present. But as we're moving toward a customer service orientation even more, thought this would be appropriate to update the handbook.
That's, the bar that we try to set, those standards of excellence with service being right up at the top. to promise little and deliver a lot should be our mantra in providing that service, because that's all people are looking for. They don't want to be ignored. They don't want to feel like they're being abused, that somebody's paying them attention and addressing their needs.
Yes, sir. And it's resolution 2022-02-6818, resolution to add service to the MHA employee handbook as an organizational value.
All right. Ms. Anthony, you have anything to report?
We are, under the employment piece,
Mm-hmm.
we are moving forward. The director has just recently hired a compliance manager that will begin on the 22nd,
Yes.
following the holiday.
Mm-hmm.
We're excited about that component. It's a job that we moved away from, but we're now reinstating, and it couldn't be coming at a better time as we're getting into more and more deals. And actually, as we in this house need to be more mindful of how we stay in compliance. And having a person that's totally responsible for the compliance issue is great. There is movement for a procurement manager and an HR person, and I know that the chairman has, the director has also been looking at the IT position.
Interview tomorrow.
To also, all of these jobs are part of the new organizational chart. As we begin to streamline, to be able to move forward and actually impact the work that we've had laid out for us. So, the director is moving forward with those as we have prescribed in the organizational chart.
Sounds good. Anyone have any questions for Ms. Anthony?
No, sir.
All right, well, IT, well, we know we've been experiencing some problems, but I think those are kind of resolved, and going forward, there's some things that Director Benedicto is going to put in place to kind of help secure our data.
Talk about the problems that we experienced. What happened?
Okay, oh, wow. So we have had what he referred to, an IT specialist, as intermittent internet service. And really, in layman's term, it just means it's keep going in and out. So it has affected our ability to use our phone because we're on Ring Central. So we weren't able to actually get calls through the traditional phone system. And then, of course, sending emails, scanning documents. We got back online yesterday evening, hence this, okay? But we were out for, it was over a week. And IT professionals and certainly Kedrick have worked on solving this issue for quite some time. And it just got to the point where the specialist said he has to come on site. And
So we had this problem before.
not quite like this.
Okay.
Okay,
That's the
not quite like this. But anyway, he will be following up with me. I really spent pretty much all of my day yesterday walking him throughout the building to various locations because he said the nature of it, he would need to go to device by device by device. So anyway,
It's just the nature of IT.
Yeah.
the nature of IT,
You
I
really
learned
can't
a
do
lot.
a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
do it by remote. You have to be there to
Pin
see
it
it.
down to that
Yeah, you have to
exact,
be there to see it.
yeah.
Yeah, so
It is
it,
a drawback of having voice over IP.
Mm.
People sell it, but we now know what happens to it when it doesn't
Never
work.
had it.
mhm.
It is
Yeah,
the,
you ain't got no phone service.
no, yeah,
Yeah.
with voice over IP.
Yeah, it has really been a challenge. I'm so grateful to be coming out of it. We had a little, and then of course it was capped with a little visitor in our lobby. A little bad that we got out this morning, but anyway, we're good now.
So that's it. I just want to know, I haven't gotten the status up on the installation of the kiosk.
Okay, so yeah, I've been in communication with the rep there. They've asked for me to start filling out some forms and getting that to them, including what logo we want on there. I've sent our message there with, making every street a neighborhood. So just some branding components, and now we're moving to the second phase where we're sending some more components that says like, how do you want your screen set up? But they've already sent it to production.
Okay.
And so that is a 8 to 10 week process. And yes, it is. but we're a couple of weeks in already, so, well, a little bit more than that. A few weeks in, we've already started coordinating delivery, how they would get the kiosks in the building and so forth. So that's really promising. I do have another meeting with our rep, Mr. Wasim, later this month, because he needed another set of documents from us, so we can pin him down on an actual delivery date. But
Sounds
it is
good.
in process, we've been in communication,
All right, that's it for me.
yes, on the kiosks.
Mr. Jackson?
Well, I did most of mine earlier with Josh, but, my main, main thing I'm trying to get doing now is the, council. That's my main concern. Get ready to, start meetings, first with Paris, and then I'm going to Power Towers. And, we'll go from there to structure what their council looks like right now in order to bring people over and bring everybody together to form this, the main board. Once that's done, like I told Commissioner Anthony, the next thing is training. That's before we do anything, we want to get the training behind us. And once we get the training done, sky's the limit. So that's basically it. Like I said earlier, things are getting better at Paris. Thank goodness, because I've been, like y'all, I've been receiving phone calls as late as 3 in the morning.
You better not call me.
I've been receiving phone calls and, you know, dealing with that. But, like I said, thank goodness it's going good. Actually, talked to, one of the representatives of their council, which is gonna be one of the primary people that's gonna be on the main council that we're gonna perform. I think he would be a great asset to it. Other than that, oh, well, this ain't got nothing to do with it, but, on a lighter note, as
get married.
of, you know.
You nailed it.
As of Valentine's Day, I proposed.
Congratulations.
No date set yet. No date set yet.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Take off them rock and roll shoes. Yeah.
She wants me to stay on the board and continue what I'm doing, so I told her, I said, you know, if you wanna wait that long, that's fine. So, but,
Does that mean you're moving away?
I will be, but it, like I said, it'd be like when we get married, we haven't set a date yet. We just right now going through the motions.
Don't give her too much time, she might change her mind.
Hey, I'm like, you know, hey, my plan, I wasn't gonna get married till I turn 86, but, I wasn't gonna get married till I turn 86, that way nobody want me, ain't nobody gonna take me.
You know, that warranty you got will wear
Yeah,
out.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's right.
In a minute now.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
but, yeah, I just wanted to
Congratulations.
throw that out there. Appreciate it, appreciate it.
All right.
So you going?
Wonderful.
Lindsay.
Congratulations.
I don't really have, we need to vote on these resolutions.
Oh, we up on board.
Oh, okay. No, I don't.
Okay. All righty.
You ready for a motion on the resolution?
Well, let's see, how you want to do this?
Motion that we take them all in a block.
Even though some are not related.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I need a second.
Second.
You need to quit doing him like that.
It's been moved and properly second that we consider adopting resolutions 2022-02-6810 through 22-02-6818.
Yes.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Brandy?
She's gone. She's
Brandy
traveling.
gone, okay.
She's traveling.
Executive session?
Yes, sir, I would like to.
Okay.
Give me a motion.
What you, I mean,
Give me a motion.
I motion that we move into executive brief.
Second. Second.
Second.
Then moved and properly second that we go into executive session. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, none. We are in executive session.
And refreshments are here. But anyway,
Right.
but actually,